All right, so it's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, brain supposedly winding down for sleep, when suddenly it's like, hey, remember that thing you said 3 years ago? The awkward thing, let's replay that in HD with director's commentary. And you're like, brain, please, I need sleep. But your brain's already moved on. Now it's your mortgage payment, then climate change, then that time you waved at someone who wasn't waving at you and you just stood there, waving at nothing. You tell your brain to stop. Please, just stop. And it responds by remembering you forgot to text your mom back. Cool. So now you're lying there at 2:30 a.m., stress spiraling about your carbon footprint and your mother's disappointment and whether that person from 3 years ago still thinks you're weird. Your brain, the thing that's supposed to be helping you, is actively torturing you with scenarios that don't even exist. It's like having a really anxious roommate who never sleeps and thinks everything is an emergency. Which raises the question, why does the most sophisticated computer in the known universe spend so much time making you absolutely miserable? And here's what's going to blow your mind. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when it does this. It's not broken. It's running ancient survival software that was literally life or death useful for 300,000 years, but is now completely inappropriate for modern life. Your brain doesn't hate you. It loves you so much, it's still trying to save you from a world that disappeared 10,000 years ago. Okay, so let's start with negativity bias. You know how you can get 99 compliments and 1 criticism, and guess which one your brain obsesses over at 3 a.m.? That's not a personal flaw. That's not low self-esteem. That is the feature that kept humans alive. See, your ancestors, the ones who made it long enough to reproduce, they were the ones who noticed everything that could go wrong. The optimists, the everything's probably fine people, they didn't make it. Here's the thing, humans notice negative information 5 times faster than positive. 5 times. Your brain has dedicated neural pathways for threat detection that activate in 17 milliseconds. That's faster than you can consciously think. Picture this, it's 50,000 years ago. You're walking through tall grass and you hear rustling. Your brain has to make a split-second decision, probably nothing, or definitely a predator. The humans who thought probably nothing, they became lunch. The paranoid ones, the ones whose brains screamed, danger, danger, everything is trying to kill you, those are your ancestors. Which means, congratulations, you are descended from the most successfully paranoid humans who ever lived. Your negativity bias isn't a bug in your programming, it's the main feature. But wait, it gets weirder. You know that social anxiety? That voice in your head that's convinced everyone's judging you? That obsesses over every social interaction like you're being graded? That exists because being rejected by your tribe meant death. For 99% of human history, if your social group kicked you out, you died. Not metaphorically, literally. No tribe meant no protection, no shared resources, no help hunting or gathering food. So your brain evolved to obsess over group dynamics. Are people mad at me? Did I say something wrong? Am I still part of the tribe? And here's the insane part. Your brain processes social pain in the same regions as physical pain. Being left out of a group chat literally hurts your brain the same way as being punched. Because for your ancestors, they were the same thing. Picture a hunter-gatherer 50,000 years ago getting cast out from their tribe. No tools, no fire, no protection, just alone in the wilderness. Social death became actual death, usually within days. So that voice in your head that panics when you're left on red, that catastrophizes when someone seems annoyed with you, that replays social interactions looking for signs of rejection, that's not insecurity. That's your brain doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, keeping you social connected, because social connection meant survival. If you're still here after that revelation, you might as well subscribe, like, and comment. This is going to keep getting weirder, because here's where it gets really stupid. Your brain's threat detection system, This incredibly sophisticated survival mechanism, it can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an email from your boss. Think about this. The amygdala and your stress response evolved when threats were immediate and physical. You saw a predator, you ran. You either escaped or you didn't. 30 seconds, problem solved. Modern stressors are abstract and persistent. Your job, your relationships, climate change, the economy. These aren't things you can fight or flee from, but they trigger the exact same chemical response that helped early humans outrun predators. So right now, your nervous system is flooding with cortisol and adrenaline because your phone made a notification sound. The same chemical cocktail that helped your ancestors survive actual life or death situations is being triggered by a Slack message marked urgent. Your brain thinks a work deadline is a predator, and it responds accordingly. Heart rate spikes, muscles tense, attention narrows. Every system in your body preparing for a physical threat that isn't bare. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't happening to you. This is you. This is what being human means. You didn't inherit broken anxiety from damaged ancestors. You inherited successful anxiety from ancestors who survived because they were anxious about everything. That voice that says, "What if something goes wrong?" That's the voice of every human who lived long enough to pass on their genes. That overthinking, that worst-case scenario planning, that is the voice of survival itself. And suddenly, everything clicks, right? You're not failing at being human. You're succeeding at being an ancient human in a world that changed faster than evolution could keep up. Every anxious thought, every social worry, every 3 a.m. spiral isn't a personal weakness. It's evidence that you're descended from the humans who cared so much about staying alive that they thought about everything that could go wrong. Your brain scanning every room for threats, that's pattern recognition that kept your ancestors alive. Your tendency to overthink social situations, that's social intelligence that maintained the relationships that meant survival. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that it's perfectly designed for a world that no longer exists. We went from small tribal groups where everyone knew everyone to cities of millions of strangers. From immediate physical threats to abstract psychological stressors. From life or death decisions made in seconds to complex choices that play out over years. But your brain is still running on Pleistocene software. It's still trying to keep you alive in a world where the biggest daily threat was being eaten by something with very large teeth. So when your boss sends that "we need to talk" email, your ancient brain thinks you're about to be devoured. When you post something on social media and nobody likes it immediately, your tribal survival programming thinks you're being rejected by the group and might die alone in the wilderness. Which is not entirely wrong, honestly. But here's what changes everything. You can start recognizing these programs running in the background. That 3 a.m. anxiety spiral, that's not you being weak. That's ancient software doing a security scan. Those worst-case scenarios your brain loves to explore, that's not pessimism. That's your ancestors' survival strategy still running its diagnostics. Right now, as you're watching this, your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's scanning for threats, monitoring social cues, preventing dangers that statistically will never come. It's checking, are we safe? Are we accepted? Are we prepared for what might go wrong? And the answer it keeps coming back with is the same answer that kept humans alive for 300,000 years. Probably not. Better stay alert, better keep worrying, better keep preparing. Your brain doesn't hate you. It loves you so much it's been working overtime for your entire life, trying to solve problems that evolution taught it were life or death important. The question isn't how to fix your brain. Your brain isn't broken. The question is how to live with a Paleolithic mind in a digital world. How to honor the ancient wisdom that kept your bloodline alive for hundreds of thousands of years while navigating a reality those survival programs were never designed for. How to be grateful for the anxiety that proves you're human while also not letting it run your entire life. Your brain has been taking care of you. Even when it feels like it's working against you, it's been doing its best with the information evolution gave it. Maybe it's time to start working with it instead of fighting it, to recognize that voice not as an enemy, but as the echo of every human who survived long enough to make your existence possible. Your brain doesn't hate you. It's just trying to keep you alive in a world it doesn't understand. Honestly, that's kind of beautiful.